Hey guys, welcome back to ThinkDiffusion channel. I'm here today with Damola and he'll be presenting us a workflow. Hi Damola, how are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Okay, yeah Damola, do a quick introduction, what you find interesting in the space, what you like to do.
Yeah. Well, I'm a digital artist. I've been an architect in a past life, a furniture designer, but these days I'm more into digital arts, stuff in the social augmented reality space, stuff in the AI space. So I like exploring new tools to bring my ideas to life. And AI has just been one of the fun, great ways of exploring my art that I've been doing these days. So, yeah.
That's amazing. Uh, okay, and what kind of a workflow will you be showing us today?
Today I'll be showing how to create a simple vid-to-vid uh, animation with a workflow from InnerReflections. I'll be showing it was how I won a competition recently. I won the ThinkDiffusion award. Thank you guys for that. I'm really grateful for that. But yeah, I'll be showing how I did that using ThinkDiffusion, and hopefully you guys enjoy that.
Awesome. Yeah, let's dive right in.
Okay. So first thing you're gonna need, I'm gonna share my screen, is to go to Civit AI to get the workflow we'll be using created by InnerReflections. Can you see my screen, Rob?
Yes.
Okay, great. So here's the page with the guide, and here's where you download the workflows from. He has several different workflows for vid-to-vid, with a single ControlNet, one with a multi-ControlNet, text-to-vid, and then he has a written guide here. You can also go on YouTube and seek out Sebastian Kamp's tutorials as well. That's how I learned, so shout out to him. But yeah, once you get the workflow from here, you then go to ThinkDiffusion. Let me share that screen now. Then go to ThinkDiffusion. And well, here's the startup screen for ThinkDiffusion. Let me go to the beginning. All right. Here's the startup screen for ThinkDiffusion. Here's where you launch the app. And if you don't have an account yet, you can launch the app from here. And ThinkDiffusion is great for people that don't have the top of the line machines. Like I don't have the top of the line, and ThinkDiffusion has been very helpful to do some really heavy lifting in terms of processing work. So for people like me, I would suggest trying out ThinkDiffusion. And so you come here, and then you're presented with a bunch of tools that you can use that ThinkDiffusion makes easy for you to use. There's Automatic 111, but today we'll be using ComfyUI, which is usually my go-to these days. And then you have different selections of speeds here. So we'll just go with Turbo today, and then we hit launch, and this will then take us to the ComfyUI interface that we'll be using with the workflow.
And we also just launched Ultra Machine. Have you seen the announcement?
The Ultra Machine, I'm not sure. What's that about?
We just launched. We're calling it Ultra Machine, and it has 48 gigabytes of VRAM. So even more for ComfyUI. Yeah.
Dope. I haven't seen that yet. I'll check that out. So we're just going to wait for the interface to load on here. On the left here, this black screen area is where you'll be doing most of the work. Node-based interface will appear soon. on the left here. And that's where we'll be doing most of the work. On the right here is like your control panel, sort of, where you can drag and drop files to upload, like your input files, which you'll be using for, okay, here you go. Here's an example of a node-based interface for those of you that haven't experienced that before. So for this workflow, or for this tutorial, we'll be going into the input to upload the video that we'll be using. So you go to the input folder here, you click input, and in here is where you put in whatever thing you want to transform, whether it's an image or a video. So you can see I've already uploaded a couple of things in here that I've used. So once you have the file you want to upload locally on your system, you click upload here. Then you select that and you can just drop it. Show you an example. You can just drop that in here, and you can see it says uploading one file, and then it uploads and it's in there. So I've already uploaded the video that we'll be using today. It's in there, so I don't need to do that again. We will, for your workflow, you could also just drag and drop your JSON file. The one we downloaded from vid2vid, the InnerReflections workflow. So you can just drag that, drop it in, and you can see the node-based interface changes when you drop in a new workflow. So this is the workflow we'll be using today. When you drop your workflow in here, you might get like an alert that says you're missing a couple of nodes. If you get that, you come to this panel here, this black panel here, and click Manager. And then if you're missing nodes, you can click Install Missing Custom Nodes, and it will automatically seek out which nodes you might be missing, and then you can install those on your own. If you're missing models, so you can see we're not missing any custom nodes, so that's why it's empty. If you're missing models, you can click Install Models and, seek out the models they're missing and install those too. And if your ComfyUI is out of date, you can update from here too. So this is a very handy tool as well. Okay, so now once we have our input video uploaded, here's where we load our video. Now, when you use the original interface from vid2vid, this won't be the video upload node that's there. It'll be this purple one, which you can use as well, but I just use this one because it's how I learned. And what you do is then you select in this drop-down menu where it says video. You select there, and then you select the video you're trying to view, and it will appear in a preview window below. And if you don't see it in the drop-down menu, you hit refresh, and that goes for anything, whether it's whether you're installing a model, a LoRa, anything in any of these nodes. If you don't see them listed, then and you've installed them, you hit refresh, and once you hit refresh, they'll come up in the node. So that's the video we'll be inputting today and transforming. So as with any video you're trying to transform, you want it to be something that you've thought about and you have some idea of where you want it, or what you want to do with it. So for this, I looked at this video and just thought it reminded me of a man in like the 90s riding a unicycle, and so I thought that'd be cool to see, to transform this 3D model person into a man that's riding a unicycle in the 1900s. So for my demo today, that's what I'll be doing. So First thing, you come here and check the width and height of your final output. This is what your final output's width and height is going to be. So you want it to be the same aspect ratio as your input video. Input video here is 1080 by 1920. So you want anything that's in that same aspect ratio. It could be a smaller size output, but it has to be the same aspect ratio so it works well. So we'll just reduce, because the higher the resolution, the longer the generation is going to take. So because we want to first test out a couple of previews, we'll reduce our resolution. Then in the end, we can then, update it to 1080 by 1920 or 720 by 1280. But at the beginning, we'll just go, let's say 360 width and 640 height. So that will be our output for previews. Then we check to see that we have our AnimateDiff. We'll be using AnimateDiff model is there. So we select which one we want. We'll be using a 1.5 model. Select that. We'll make sure our checkpoint is there. There are several checkpoints here. But since we're using a 1.5 model, we want to make sure that our check is also a 1.5, works with 1.5 models. So you can see there's some that work for Flux, some that work for SVD, Diffusion 3, SDXL, but today we'll be looking at Stable Diffusion 1.5. So we'll use Epic Realism because we want it to look a bit photorealistic. And then we'll make sure that our VAE is loaded. It's here already. So these are all things that you have to make sure are there before you queue prompt, which begins the process of generation. And if they aren't there, the process won't happen, and you get like a red outline over the node that's missing a thing, and then you can go seek out what's missing. So this is where we load our ControlNet model. You're going to need that because you want to mimic the movement. There are different control nets, some that control likeness, some that control depth, some that control the outline of the character. But what we're focused on here is the pose, the movement of the character. So we're going to use an open pose control net, and you can see that is loaded here. There are other control nets here, like normal bay, scribble, soft edge, but we'll be using open pose here. And you want to make sure that you have the right preprocessor node here. So if we were using line art control nets, we'd have used the realistic line art, would have used this preprocessor, but because we're using open pose, we'll use the DW pose estimator. So we'll then use that in conjunction with this. And then we want to change the strength here to 1 because we want it to strongly follow the movement of the character in our input video. Once you've had that done, you then come down here. You can select, I usually go with the square linear AnimateDiff, but sometimes I go with LCM. It all depends on how your output is coming out. You can try out the different models here and see which one works for what you're trying to do. But today we'll use this square linear AnimateDiff. And then this is the case sampler. Here, this kind of controls the quality of your output as well. The higher the number of steps you use, the more cycles, the more it will go over the generation and work harder to make it higher quality. But you also don't want to go too high because then it can get really weird. And then your CFG controls kind of how much the AI gets to play and interpret your prompts. And then the sampler name will use Euler. I usually use Euler and then normal, but you could change that as well and play with some of these. Some people use DPMP2 here, and then the scheduler, they use CAR. Also seeing people use LCM and SGM uniform. So there are different combinations that give different results. You just have to play around with them. And the denoising strength also it's kind of closely linked to the CFG in my experience. So the lower the denoising strength, the less change you get in your output video. It'll look closer to your input video. So the higher your denoising strength. So if we take this up to 1, if we change, I think the highest you can go is 1. So if you take it up to 1, the AI will really try its best to create something new. But if you take it down to like a 0 or 0.25, it'll change a few things, but you'll still see a lot of the original input video in your final output video. So we'll do a quick example. We'll just have this as this 0.35. Then we'll do another example that's at a higher number. The other thing you have to think about is the prompts. So this green node is where you have your positive prompt, the thing that you really want to think, the prompt you really want the AI to follow. And then the red one is where you have your negative prompt, what you don't want it to put in your final output video. So for here, let's just change this prompt. This is an old prompt. Just put a man in the 1900s riding unicycle, like we said we wanted. And you can add other things too to make it more specific and detailed, but let's just use this for now. And something to keep in mind with your prompt is the first things you type are the things that will have the strongest weight when the AI is interpreting what you wrote. So the things you want to show up the most are the things you should put in the first few lines that you type. Just keep that in mind. And then we'll keep this as is, the negative prompt: bad quality, worse quality, nudity, and bad anatomy. You can change that however you see fit. And then here's the seeds. This is like a code that that's like a signature to the particular generation that you have. So if you generate something with this particular seed that you like, you can keep it at fixed, so that if you want to then upscale that particular generation that you've done, it won't change what comes up. It'll just make it more high quality. But if you want to see other seeds, other types of generations, you can select randomize, which is what we'll do now, so that each time you click Q prompt, it will give you a different type of generation instead of the same one over and over again. So if you select fixed, it will give you the same generation over and over again. But if you select randomize, it will change that up. And then over here is your settings for your final output. So usually I keep this as 12 frames per second. The standard output for movies and regular videos that you watch is 24 frames per second, or in some cases 30 frames per second. And you can do that here as well, but for particular purposes, for this particular video, I'll leave it at 12 frames per second. And then the CRF, I usually keep at 5. And over here, you can select whatever type of video format you want your video to come out as. The standard normally is H.264 for most videos, so you can keep it there for now. But some people, if you wanted it to be a GIF, if you wanted it to be an H.265, MP4, you have different options. And then, okay, there are a few things I didn't go over here in the beginning. For your input video, you have these options here from the frame load cap, skip first frames, and select every nth. So frame load cap is basically telling the system that you only want a certain amount of frames to be processed from the whole video. So let's say this video has a total of 180 frames, but you don't have the time to process all 180, or you only want to process like 60 frames from that 180, you put 60 as your frame load cap. But if you want to process all the frames that this video is made up of, you just leave it as 0. Then skip first frames is if you want to skip the first, say if you want to skip the first 20 of the 180 frames that you have of this video, you can do that with that. And then select every nth means we want to process every 2 frames in the video. So we'll skip 1 frame, then process the next one, skip the next frame after that, process the one after that. So when you have it at 2, but if you have it at 1, it won't skip any frame. It'll process every single frame of that 180. But if you put it at 2, it will process 90 frames, if that makes sense. And if you skip, the benefit of skipping a frame is that you have less frames to process, and you still kind of get the motion of the video. And with post editing, you can kind of smooth things out so it looks similar to the original video. So we'll leave it at 2 for today. Okay, so now that we've gone over everything, we can then go ahead and queue our prompt to just see what that looks like. So once we queue our prompt, you should get okay. So you see it starts processing the frames. And you can also click here to see the processes that you have running. So you can see we have one process running here. You can cancel that if you realized you had a wrong input somewhere and want to correct yourself. So you can see the open pose has like a skeleton of the input video. He's trying to match that so that your output video will match what the input is. And you can see this green outline over the node. Wherever the green outline is, it's the process that's running currently. So once it's done with this process, it'll move to another node. Okay, now it's over the ControlNet, so you can see the green outline moved. So that's another way to track the process of your generation. Here's the case sampler. It'll start giving you a preview of what the final output is going to be. So down here you can see, and then you just keep watching and wait till it's done. So you can see because our denoising strength is low, it's quite close to take out the blurry preview here. It's quite close to what the original video is. So there's no unicycle and it's not convincingly a man. So this is what I wanted to show with the whole denoising strength. So we'll do a higher denoising strength after this one, and then you'll see the difference that makes. The green progress bar up here, that shows you how far along your generation. Another thing, you can also upload custom models the same way you uploaded the input video on here. You can make diff models from here. If you don't use the manager that I showed earlier, you could also upload them models, LoRa's, checkpoints from here. So it's a pretty versatile interface ThinkDiffusion has going on here. And once you process your final output, you can come down here to outputs, click on that, and it will show you the outputs you have. The folders are sorted by date. So once this is done, there should be a folder for today appearing here in a few seconds. About to be finished here. So now it's gonna, okay, there you go. So that's our output video, and there'll be a preview down here. So you can see it's still quite close to the original input video because our denoising strength was low. Denoising strength to, let's say, 0.85, because we still wanted to, because you can also run the risk of going too high with the denoising strength where it transforms the output, but it loses the motion of the character and some of the details that we want kept. So let's just go up to 0.85 and we'll see the difference that makes. So you can see already from the preview window, original input video. Just wait for the progress bar to run. Making out something that looks like a cafe in the background, but I can't tell yet. We'll see. So like once you have something like this that looks closer to what you want from the final output, for the final output, you can then go to the seed and then be like, okay, I like this particular seeds generation, and then you can then come here and select fixed, and then go here to width and height, and then bump up the width and height, say 720 by 1080 or 1080 by 1920, and then you get a much higher quality version of the output you get now. So let's just wait for this 360 by 640 generation to. We won't be doing the 720 by 1280 or 1080 by 1920 today because that'll take a lot longer, but you get the idea. Once you have this, you can then do a much larger resolution output with the same seed. So this was what we had with the 0.35 denoising strength. Almost done. Just processing the frames down here, as you can see. But the video is already here, and you can download. There's a download link here, so you can download it locally to your system to view it if it's not coming up here, or you can, okay, there it is. So you can see it's a huge departure from what we had in the last one, which was quite close to our original input video. So now you can see the background's different. There's a bit of film grain to it. There's, you know, it's not perfect. The things are still blurry, but you see we're getting closer to the prompts that we put in the beginning. So all you'd have to do is just change resolution size and then play around with the K-sampler settings and your prompts here as well to fine-tune to you like. So that's about how I did it, and look forward to seeing how you guys take the tutorial and run with it.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Damola. Yeah, it was a very good, detailed walkthrough. So yeah, where can they find you?
You could find me on Instagram, on LinkedIn. Just search my name, Damola Rufai, DAMOLA RUFAI. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll leave all of the links below. So all the Damola socials and also the workflow, so you can download it yourself and also try it out. Yeah, thank you so much for explaining and walking us through the whole thing. And have a great day, Damola.
Yeah, no problem. You too. Thanks, Rock. Bye, guys.
Thank you.